Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's put it this way. If I can practice Krishna consciousness, anyone can. Anyone. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Oh God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. Nothing too terribly serious. Just an old body and something else falling apart. But it's functional. It's I can do something about it, or I can leave it alone. It's either way. Just how much can I tolerate? But the doctor was, his office was a scary place, man. The wall decorations, they looked like they'd all been drawn in blood. It was really, they were like line drawings or watercolors in dripping red. The whole waiting room. And I had to wait in there like an hour and a half, and there was no one else in the waiting room, just me and these dripping wall paintings that looked like they'd been done in blood. I was like, do I really want to see this doctor? And there were lamps on the tables in the waiting room, and they were missing bulbs. The bulbs had burnt out and not replaced. And the furniture was early 1950s. It's kind of worn and tattered. Hey, Madhu. Hare Krishna. Thanks for stopping by. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I was just saying, if I can practice Krishna consciousness, anyone can. Nobody has any excuse for not chanting and practicing, becoming conscious of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So anyway, this doctor's office was a really scary place. And old tattered furniture, bulbs burnt out in the lamps, and these really spooky, creepy paintings all around, watercolors and dripping red, looked like blood. I was like, oh, jeez. And I was in there for like at least an hour and a half, and nobody else in the waiting room. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I finally met him, and he was pretty effulgent, actually. He must have been like a Shiva guy or something. He was pretty effulgent. And it was just a weird experience, because doctors are always kind of like, because they're dealing with your body, you know. So at one point when he was doing some stuff, I couldn't keep it in. I had to go, Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya. And he said, what's that? And I said, oh, that helps me think more spiritually and not so much about the body. And he started to laugh. He was laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And the nurse started laughing too. And he said, well, we have to think of the body. And I'm like, oh no. So it was kind of a weird experience with the guy. And I'm not going to do anything he said to do. And I won't be going back there, I don't think. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. That was all the Krishna he gets. That was it. Until Krishna sends him somebody else that can give him a little more than that. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It wasn't a useless visit. I'm just not going to let him do anything. He wants to do like surgery, but it's totally unnecessary. They always want to do that. It's not necessary. There's other things they can do. But it wasn't a fruitless visit, even though I'm not going to take advantage of his skills. Krishna gave me some clue, some insight on how to deal with the situation. And it's gonna be fine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm really excited. I mean, I gotta clean all day today in here. I mean, I gotta make this place top to bottom spotless. And that's gonna be a lot. Because I think it's been about a month since I did any serious cleaning in here. And tomorrow, there's devotees coming over for Prabhupad. Happy Father's Day for Prabhupada. So I'm like, okay. These are nice, simple devotees that just live in their lives, that are attracted to Prabhupada. They have love in their heart for Krishna. Just real simple people. They're not trying to be a big this or a big that. They're just trying to deal with the world in their lives and be Krishna conscious. Really sweet people. So it should be a lot of fun. And everyone's going to bring something to offer. We're going to make a little offering. Somebody's bringing apple crumble. Somebody's bringing potato salad. Somebody's bringing regular salad. I'm going to make a couple things. And I don't know, did I leave anything out? I don't know. Whatever they bring, they bring. And but there's some good kirtan leaders coming. There's a couple people that there's one devotee, she sings with a ukulele. And kirtans are nice. Really nice. And another devotee's from Russia, he's coming with his guitar, and he's sweet. Boy, you're in the boat with the gopis and Krishna when he's singing. Oh, God. Yes, so we're taking the opportunity, to do this. Just, it's an excuse, Father's Day with Prabhupada. And I I didn't know what to do, you know, like, how do we guide this thing, you know, so we keep it simple and sweet and just like a family and friends affair rather than a preaching session, you know. I was thinking to read Prabhupada's letter to Mahatma Gandhi, because it's a really sweet letter, and Prabhupada's trying to talk to him like a friend. And he's warning him about the dangers that he's coming up against, that he's probably going to get assassinated. He tells him outright. And 6 months later, he was killed. So it's an interesting letter. And in it, there's some references to Bhagavad-Gita. And I thought maybe we could all take turns. We could read the letter and then also read the verses that Prabhupada quoted. And in that way, you know, get a sense of Prabhupada being everyone's well-wisher and in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So I thought maybe we'd do that. Just trying to think what to do. You know? I think that'll be good. So anyway, we'll do it, I guess. Unless somebody else has another idea. Maybe somebody come and has some other idea. I'm open. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. And this Krishna consciousness is going on so many levels and so many spheres of activity. It's like Lord Chaitanya is given the basic instruction: wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna or give Krishna's instructions. So that means actually there's no extra endeavor needed. Although some people, some devotees, they have service to just stand there as, I'm a devotee and I'm going to give a class and this is what it's all about, you know the Brahmin types. And that is their activity, and that brings them in contact with people in that sphere, okay? But then there's other people that are just living their lives. They have families, they have jobs, or they have businesses. And that instruction is there for everyone. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, in that way, that's how Krishna consciousness is actually going to spread. Far and wide. Because people have different occupations. It brings them in contact with people in ways that the Brahmin types are never going to come in contact with. So there's a preaching field for everyone if we can appreciate that. That's how anyone and everyone can serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By embracing this Krishna consciousness ourselves and making sure that we stay situated nicely in devotion to the Lord, and then wherever we go, we're carrying it with us. And if we have a couple of little small books, that's nice. It's nice. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The new book distribution. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, take something with you. Going shopping, going to the doctor's office. If you have an office, you can put them on the table. People can, the waiting room, they can read Time magazine and they can read Bhagavad-Gita. If you have a motel, put it in the desk drawer. Put it in the night table drawer. the new book distribution. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. And everyone is sure to come into contact with all different types of people according to their level of their field of activity, their time, place, and circumstance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. That's the way to go. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, give them Krishna. Look for an opening. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Share with them something. You can even bring a little snack with you, Have some little cookies or something, little sweets. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. It's easy here in the Gainesville area because everybody knows Krishna here. Everybody. It's quite a place. Wherever you go, they've already had some contact or some interaction with a devotee or something. It's a pretty amazing area. And you're looking at a population in this area of people that own homes, about 100,000. Was that the figure? That's just homeowners. No, people who own their own homes. I saw that figure. It's about 70,000. So that means there's at least 100,000 because people rent, So, yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And I saw the other day the police force put out an announcement that they want to be ministered to in their service to the community. They want to have someone, the different police officers want to have someone as their special minister, and they left it open for any spiritual or religious advisor to develop a personal contact with the different police officers, a chaplaincy. The police department wants their own chaplaincy. They want their own chaplains. Nice opening for our devotee chaplain, minister to the police. Hare Krishna. I mean, the police here in Gainesville, they know the devotees because the devotees, they have lots of street activity here, a lot of street chanting here. And a big prasadam distribution program at the university, and then there's a preaching center, Krishna House. Prabhupada wanted all these things. He wanted to make a big hoo-ha. So it's going on. There's nothing wrong. Everything is going on perfectly, at least in this area. It's an amazing area. I was remembering how, I don't know where I heard it from Prabhupada's writings, it's somewhere in a purport or something. I wish I could pinpoint it. That when people take a pilgrimage to a holy place, spiritually inclined people, they go to a holy place or a temple or a sacred place anywhere, India, or a temple anywhere in the world now. There are different temples of Krishna. They're not just going there to have a meal, although the prasadam is there, or to have like an eye exercise and see pretty flowers and things. The real reason for going there is that usually in sacred places there are spiritually advanced people, and they are wanting opportunity to preach and to help others. So the real reason for going to a temple or a holy place is there might be a sadhu there. And if the pilgrim makes a connection with that person, then the real purpose of traveling there is fulfilled. Because then they can actually hear nicely from a devotee about Kṛṣṇa. And that's what's enlivening, is to hear from the devotee about Kṛṣṇa. So Prabhupada, his preaching strategy is make a big hoo-ha, make a big, make as big as you can, as much commotion, Kṛṣṇa, around Kṛṣṇa, big pandal events, big temples, make huge, make big, make attractive, and they'll come. And if they do, they have the opportunity to hear something from a devotee. Prabhupada is everyone's well-wisher. That was his strategy. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So those that are maintaining these big events, there's a lot of responsibility on them to keep a nice pure standard, as pure as possible standard, to make that atmosphere so that when people come, they can connect, to keep that atmosphere pure. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. So there's no conflict. Everything is working harmoniously. It's all under Kṛṣṇa consciousness. All the pieces fit together. All the pieces, it's not a puzzle anymore. It's like really clear. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. So what Prabhupada is saying is, your love for me, Happy Father's Day, Srila Prabhupada, your love for me will be seen in how you work together. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. It's like trying to pull a cart with a team of wild horses. Pulling this way, pulling that way. Come on. Let's get in sync. Let's pull together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. No matter how busy everyone is in their different field of activities, Kshetra, that's Sanskrit for field of activity, Kshetra, Kurukshetra. Kshetra means the field of activity. Kurukshetra meant the field where a battle took place. So that was the activity on Kurukshetra. But Kshetra and Kshetragya, Kshetragya, I believe, is the doer on the field of activity. Anyway, there's a whole chapter in Gita on Kshetra, Kshetragya, field of activity, the doer and the knower. Let me see roughly here. Maybe it's in the glossary. Kshetragya. Begins with a K. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, K.S. Kshetragya, Kshetra. Okay, Kshetra is the field of activity. It's interesting because the glossary here is as field of body. Okay, so in that chapter it's discussing the body field of activity, but it could be any field of activity. It could be one's occupational field of activity. Kshetragya, the knower of the field. That's the knower of the field, is Kshetragya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Talks between Krishna and Rukmiṇī. So, however busy we are in our field of activity, whatever level of activity we're considering, have to make time for hearing and chanting about Krishna. Have to make sure we do that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay. Talks between Krishna and Rukmiṇī. It's from a summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad, the well-wisher of everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And let's see, it's been a while since I read, so what happened here? Okay. Well, let's backtrack a little. Wouldn't hurt. The pastimes of Krishna and Rukmiṇī in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayan and Lakshmi, which are of an exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwarka. The characteristics of Rukmiṇī were unusually bright, and Krishna was very much satisfied with her behavior. Krishna had experienced that when Rukmiṇī was offered a parijata flower by Narada Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of her co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree. That was actually done by Kṛṣṇa. The tree was brought down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. After this episode, Kṛṣṇa expected that because Satyabhama had been rewarded by a full tree of Parijata, Rukmiṇī would also demand something. Rukmiṇī did not mention anything of the incident, however, for she was grave and simply satisfied with her service. Kṛṣṇa wanted to see her a bit irritated, and therefore he schemed in order to see the beautiful face of Rukmiṇī in an irritated condition. Okay, so the incident here that's about to take place is due to this Parijata thing. Narada Muni brought a Parijata flower to Rukmiṇī. Satyabhama, the co-wife of Kṛṣṇa, became envious. How come she's got the Parijata flower from the heavenly planets, and I didn't get one? So Kṛṣṇa made some arrangement to bring her a whole. He brought her with him when they went to take care of the disturbances caused by Bhaumasura. I was wondering, why did he put her on the chariot with him to go kill a demon, Bhaumasura? Why did he do that? And it was explained the reason he did that was because he knew that they were going to take the earrings that Bhaumasura had stolen from the mother of the demigods and bring them back to Indra so he could give them to his mother. And while they were there, he would take one of the Parijata trees from the heavenly planet. He would bring a whole tree for Satyabhama, which then caused a big fight with Indra. But this is Kṛṣṇa. There are things going on in the spiritual world among the different personalities. They're not just playing harps all day. They're doing stuff. Emotions, feelings. So that whole incident with the Parijata, then Kṛṣṇa was expecting Rukmiṇī to then be somehow, well, how come I didn't get it? I've just got a flower. How come I didn't get a whole tree? You did that. But she didn't do that because that wasn't her personality. She was just happy with her service. And if Kṛṣṇa wanted to give a Parijata tree to Satyabhama, then that was between him and her. She was fine. She wasn't envious. Fine, no problem. No, she didn't think like that. But Kṛṣṇa wanted to see her irritated, and he made a scheme. Although Kṛṣṇa had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familial affection. Because it wasn't like he would go to one queen a night or a day. He was with them all the time. He was expanded. Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, expanded 16,100 husbands to be with his 16,100 wives. He could have done 12 million or 60 billion or 10 quadrillion. It wouldn't matter because Kṛṣṇa is unlimited, and he expanded, in this case, 16,100 times to be with each of his wives day and night. Unless he went somewhere, but he played that part of the role of the husband with each one simultaneously. He would create a particular situation between himself and his wife in which the wife would criticize him in the irritation of love. And Kṛṣṇa would enjoy this, up to his old antics. In this case, because Kṛṣṇa could not find any fault with Rukmiṇī, for she was very great, and always engaged in his service. He smilingly, in great love, began to speak to her. Rukmiṇī was the daughter of King Bhishmaka and a powerful king. Okay, see, he was causing this with the residents of Vrindavan. He did a huge separation event where they are absorbed completely in separation, mood of separation. But here, he's causing a minor. It's like a minor separation event where we'll see what he does here, where he threatens to leave. Well, it's interesting what he does here. He causes this, and it heightens Rukmiṇī's attachment to him. We'll see what he does. Kṛṣṇa did not address her as Rukmiṇī. He addressed her at this time as the princess. He's distancing himself. He's a princess. My dear princess, it is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal honor wanted to marry you. Although not all of them were kings, all possessed the opulence and riches of the kingly order. They were well behaved, learned, famous among kings, beautiful in their bodily features and personal qualifications, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way, and over and above that, your father and your brother had no objection to such marriages. On the contrary, they gave their word of honor that you would be married with Sishupal. The marriage was sanctioned by your parents. Sishupal was a great king, and so lusty and mad after you, after your beauty, that if he had married you, I think he would have always remained with you, just like your faithful servant. In comparison to Sishupal, with his personal qualities, I'm nothing. And you may personally realize it. I'm surprised that you rejected the marriage with Sishupal and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Sishupal. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband, because you're so beautiful, sober, grave, and exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I can address you as my beautiful wife, but still I may inform you of my actual position, that I am inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. He's distancing himself. Hare Krishna. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasandha that I could not dare to live on the land, and thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. It's not my business to disclose this secret to others, but you must know that I'm not very heroic. I am a coward, and afraid of them all. Still, I am not safe because all the great kings of the land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Another fault is that, although I am not on the throne of Dwarka, I have no immediate claim. Wait. No, that's wrong. Another fault is that although I am on the throne of Dwarka, I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal uncle, Kamsa, the king was to go to my grandfather. So actually I have no possession of a kingdom. Besides that, I have no fixed aim in life. People cannot understand me very well. What is the ultimate goal of my life? They know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. People expected that I would follow the footsteps of my foster father Nanda Maharaj and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of a sudden, I left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule as a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life. They do not know whether I am a cowherd boy or a prince, whether I am the son of Nanda Maharaj or the son of Vasudeva. Because I have no fixed aim in life, people may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I'm surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. Besides this, I'm not very much polished even in social etiquette. A person should be satisfied with one wife. But you see, I have married many times, and I have more than 16,100 wives. I cannot please all of them as a polished husband. My behavior with them is not very nice, and I know you are very much conscious of it. I sometimes create a situation with my wives which is not very happy. Because I was trained in a village in my childhood, I'm not well acquainted with the etiquette of urban life. I do not know the way to please a wife with nice words and behavior. And from practical experience, it is found that any woman who follows my way or who becomes attracted to me is ultimately left to cry for the rest of her life. In Vrindavan, many gopis were attracted to me. Now I have left them. And they are living, but are simply crying for me in separation. I have heard from a Kṛṣṇa in Uddhava that since I left Vrindavan, all my cowherd boyfriends, the gopis and Radharani, and my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, are simply crying constantly for me. I have left Vrindavan for good, and am now engaged with the queens of Dwarka. But I am not well behaved with any of you. So you can easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. Hare Krishna, Jocelyn. Hare Bol. Hey, reading about Kṛṣṇa and Rukmiṇī in Dwarka, and how he wants to see her. She's always so grave and always engaged in service. He wants to agitate her. So he's creating a distance. He's distancing himself from her, and he wants to see what happens. So he's telling her he's not qualified to be in Dwarka as a prince. He's not a king. He's not qualified to marry her. He's distancing himself. So, and he wants to see what she does with it. You can easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I'm not a very reliable husband. The net result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only. My dear beautiful princess, you may also know that I am always penniless. Just after my birth, I was carried penniless to the house of Nanda Maharaj and was raised just like a cowherd boy. Although my foster father possessed many hundreds of thousands of cows, I was not proprietor of even one of them. I was simply entrusted to take care of them and tend to them, but I was not the proprietor. Here also, I am not the proprietor of anything, but am always penniless. There is no cause to lament for such a penniless condition. I possessed nothing in the past, so why should I lament that I do not possess anything at present? Hey Sachi, Hare Krishna. Reading about Kṛṣṇa and Rukmiṇī, and how he's disturbing her mind because she was always so nicely engaged in his service. He wanted to upset her. He wanted to see her upset. You may note that also my devotees are not very opulent persons. They are very poor in worldly goods. Those who are very rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Kṛṣṇa consciousness. On the contrary, when a person becomes penniless, whether by force or by circumstances, he may become interested in me if he gets the proper opportunity. Persons who are proud of their riches, even if they offered association with my devotees, do not take advantage of consciousness of me. In other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but the richer classes of men have no interest. I think, therefore, that your selection of me was not very intelligent. You appear to be very intelligent, trained by your father and brother, but ultimately you made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion. But there's no harm. It's better late than never. You are at liberty to select a suitable husband who is actually an equal to you in opulence, family tradition, wealth, beauty, education, in all respects. Whatever mistakes you may have made may be forgotten. Now you may chalk out your own lucrative path. Actually, a person does not establish a marital relationship with a person who is either higher or lower than his position. My dear daughter of the king of Vidarbha, I think you did not consider very sagaciously before marriage. Sagacious means wisely. Thus, you made a wrong selection by choosing me as your husband. You mistakenly heard about me having very exalted character, although factually I was nothing more than a beggar. Without seeing me and my actual position, simply by hearing about me, you selected me as your husband. That was not very rightly done. Therefore, I advise you that it is better late than never. You can now select one of the great Kshatriya princes and accept him as your life's companion, and you can reject me. Kṛṣṇa was proposing that Rukmiṇī divorce him at a time when Rukmiṇī already had many grown-up children. Therefore, Kṛṣṇa's whole proposition to Rukmiṇī appeared to be something unexpected, because according to Vedic culture, there was no such thing as separation of husband and wife by divorce. Nor was it possible for Rukmiṇī to do so in advanced age, when she had many married sons. Each and every one of Kṛṣṇa's proposals appeared to Rukmiṇī to be crazy, and she was surprised that Kṛṣṇa would say such things. Simple as she was, her anxiety was increasing more and more at the thought of separation from Kṛṣṇa. Just the thought of separation from Kṛṣṇa. Her anxiety was increasing more and more at the thought of separation. And that's what Kṛṣṇa wanted. He wanted her to feel that, and that's how he was doing it. Kṛṣṇa continued, after all, you have to prepare yourself for your next life. I therefore advise that you... This is supposed to be auspicious. My left eye is twitching. It's supposed to be an auspicious sign. My left eye is twitching. Auspicious. Kṛṣṇa continued. After all, you have to prepare yourself for your next life. I therefore advise that you select someone who can help you both in this life and the next life, for I am completely unable to help. My dear beautiful princess, you know that all the members of the princely order, including Sishupal, Salva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, and even your elder brother Rukmiṇī, are all my enemies. They do not like me at all. They hate me from the core of their hearts. All these princes were very much puffed up with their worldly possessions, and they did not care a fig for anyone who came before them. In order to teach them some lessons, I agreed to kidnap you, according to your desire. Otherwise, I actually have no love for you, although you loved me even before the marriage. Wow. Wow. What a bombshell. Woo! Kṛṣṇa, what are you doing? He's saying the only reason he married her was to teach them a lesson. That he doesn't love her. He was just doing it. Oh my God. Woo! Kṛṣṇa, what a terrible thing to say. What a terrible thing to say. In order to teach them some lessons, I agreed to kidnap you according to your desire. Otherwise, I actually have no love for you. Oh my God. Even though you loved me before the marriage, I don't love you. Ooh, what is she going to do with that? Oh no, here he goes. He continues on. As I have already explained, I'm not very much interested in family life or love between husband and wife. By nature, I'm not very fond of family life, wife, children, home, and opulences. As my devotees are always neglectful of all these worldly possessions, I'm also like that. Actually, I'm interested in self-realization. That gives me pleasure, and not this family life. After submitting his statement, Lord Kṛṣṇa suddenly stopped. The great authority, Sukadeva Goswami, remarks that Kṛṣṇa almost always passed his time with Rukmiṇī, and Rukmiṇī was a bit proud to be so fortunate that Kṛṣṇa never left her even for a moment. Kṛṣṇa, however, does not like any of his devotees to be proud. As soon as a devotee becomes so, by some tactic, he cuts down that pride. In this case also, Kṛṣṇa said many things that were hard for Rukmiṇī to hear. She could only conclude that although she was proud of her position, Kṛṣṇa could be separated from her at any moment. Yeah, but Kṛṣṇa can never be separated from his devotee. But they can be plunged into the mood of separation. Just like in Vrindavan, they're not separated from Kṛṣṇa, but they're plunged into that mood of separation. And Rukmiṇī realized that Kṛṣṇa, at any moment, could put her in that state. It was due to, if she had some pride. So Kṛṣṇa was dealing with Rukmiṇī like that. Rukmiṇī was conscious that her husband was not an ordinary human being. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of the three worlds. By the way he was speaking, she was afraid of being separated from the Lord, for she had never heard such harsh words from Kṛṣṇa before. Thus she became perplexed with fear of separation, and her heart began to palpitate. Without replying to a word of Kṛṣṇa's statement, she simply cried in great anxiety, as if being drowned in an ocean of grief. She silently scratched the ground with the nails of her toes, which were reflecting reddish light on the ground. The tears from her eyes were pink, mixed with the black cosmetic ointment from her eyelids, and the waters were dropping down, washing the kumkum and saffron from her breasts. Choked up on account of great anxiety, unable to speak even a word, she kept her head downward and remained standing, just like a stick. Due to extremely painful fearfulness and lamentation, she lost all her reasoning powers and became so weak that immediately her body lost so much weight that the bangles on her wrists became slackened. The chamara rod with which she had been serving Kṛṣṇa immediately fell from her hand. Her brain and memory became puzzled, and she lost consciousness. The nicely combed hair on her head scattered here and there, and she fell down straight, like a banana tree cut down by a whirlwind. That's an interesting analogy, because the banana tree is actually under the ground, and if a whirlwind comes and knocks down the part of the tree that we see up above the ground, they haven't actually destroyed the tree, because the tree is under the ground, and it shoots up these sprouts that bloom. The actual tree is under the ground. She fell down straight like a banana tree cut by a whirlwind. Yeah, great, Kṛṣṇa. Here, Lord Kṛṣṇa immediately realized that Rukmiṇī had not taken his words in a joking spirit. Some joke. Sorry. Some joke. She had taken them very seriously, and in her extreme anxiety over immediate separation from Kṛṣṇa, she had fallen into this condition. This is the loving nature of the Lord. This is the loving nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here he comes. He's going to save the day. He just made a mess, and now he's going to save the day. Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa is naturally very affectionate toward his devotees, and seeing Rukmiṇī's condition, his heart immediately became softened. At once he became merciful to her. The relationship between Kṛṣṇa and Rukmiṇī was as Lakshmi Narayan. Therefore, he appeared before her in four-handed manifestation. He appeared before her as Narayan, four-armed. He got down from the bedstead, brought her up by her hands, and placed his cooling hands on her face, soothing the scattered hairs on her head. Lord Kṛṣṇa dried the wet breast of Rukmiṇī with his hand. Understanding the seriousness of Rukmiṇī's love for him, he embraced her to his chest. Kṛṣṇa. Hey, who needs soap operas, as the world turns, right? Days of our lives. I mean, come on, It's all here. Those are just dim reflections. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is very expert in putting a thing reasonably for one's understanding, and thus he tried to retract all that he had said before. He is the only resort of all the devotees, and so he knows very well how to satisfy his pure devotees. Kṛṣṇa understood that Rukmiṇī could not follow the statements which he had made in a joking way. To counteract her confusion, he again began to speak as follows. My dear daughter of King Vidarbha, my dear Rukmiṇī, please do not misunderstand me. Don't be unkind to me like this. I know you are sincerely and seriously attached to me. You are my eternal companion. The words which have affected you so much are not factual. I wanted to irritate you a bit, and I was expecting you to make counter answers to these joking words. Unfortunately, you've taken them seriously. I am very sorry for it. I expect that your red lips would tremble in anger on hearing my statement, and you would chastise me in many words. Oh, perfection of love! I never expected that your condition would be like this. I expected that you would put your blinking eyes upon me in retaliation, and in that way I would be able to see your beautiful face in an angry mood. My dear beautiful wife, you know that we are householders. We're always busy in many household affairs, so we long for a time we can enjoy some joking words between us. That is our ultimate game in household life. Actually, the householders work very hard day and night, but all fatigue at the day's labor becomes minimized as soon as they meet, husband and wife together, and enjoy in many ways. Lord Kṛṣṇa wanted to exhibit himself just as an ordinary householder who delights himself by exchanging joking words with his wife. He therefore repeatedly requested Rukmiṇī not to take those words very seriously. However, when words are spoken, it's very hard to take them back. Once they're spoken, especially harsh words, they pierce the core of the heart. And they can never actually be retracted. In this way, when Lord Kṛṣṇa pacified Rukmiṇī by his sweet words, she could understand that what was formally spoken by him was not actually meant but was spoken to evoke some joking pleasure between themselves. She was therefore pacified by hearing the words of Kṛṣṇa. Gradually she was freed from all fearfulness of separation from him, and she began to look on his face very cheerfully with her naturally smiling face, and she said, My dear lotus-eyed Lord, your statement that we are not a fit combination is completely right. It is not possible for me to come to an equal level with you because you are the reservoir of all qualities, the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can I be a fit match for you? There is no possibility of comparison with you, who are the master of all greatness, controller of the three qualities of the object of worship for great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. As far as I am concerned, I am a production of the three modes of material nature. The three modes of material nature are impediments towards the progressive advancement of devotional service. When and where can I be a fit match for you? My dear husband, you have rightly said that also, being afraid of the kings, you have taken shelter in the water of the sea. But who is the king of this material world? I do not think that the so-called royal families are kings of the material world. The kings of the material world are the three modes of material nature. They are actually the controllers of this material world. You are situated in the core of everyone's heart, where you remain completely aloof from the touch of the three modes of material nature. There is no doubt about it. That's an interest. It's almost an analogy there, that Kṛṣṇa says he's in a fort within the sea out of fear of the inimical kings. And Rukmiṇī says, she makes the analogy that the kings, the actual kings of the material world, are the three modes of material nature, and Kṛṣṇa is aloof by being within the core of the heart. So the fort within the sea and the inimical kings, and the Lord within the heart, and the kings of the material energy, the three modes. It's interesting. So yes, those words were not taken back, but now she's been able to take them in a transcendental way. She's been able to turn them around to be able to glorify Kṛṣṇa. Jad Bharat did that with the king, King Rahugana, when Jad Bharat was carrying the king's palanquin and was trying not to step on ants, because he's a great saint. He was a pure devotee of Kṛṣṇa. He didn't want to step on an ant. He was making the king's ride bumpy. And the king got angry and came out and chastised him and was going to punish him. And Jad Bharat took the king's words, because the king was calling him all sorts of names, took the king's words and turned them around in such a way that it was glorifying Kṛṣṇa. And he's doing that with Krishna's stinging words. Oh, she's going to do some more with the kings. You say you always maintain enmity with the worldly kings. But who are the worldly kings? I think the worldly kings are the senses. They're most formidable, and they control everyone. Certainly you maintain enmity with these material senses. You are never under the control of the senses. Rather, you are the controller of the senses, Rishikesh. My dear Lord, you have said that you are bereft of all royal power, and that is also correct. Not only are you bereft of material world supremacy, but even your servants, those who have some attachment to your lotus feet, also give up material world supremacy, because they consider the material position to be the darkest region which checks the progress of spiritual life. Your servants do not like material supremacy, so what to speak of you? My dear Lord, your statement that you do not act as an ordinary person with a particular aim in life is also perfectly correct. So, the material kings are also the material senses. And Kṛṣṇa is not controlled by the senses, he's the controller of the senses. My dear Lord, your statement that you do not act as an ordinary person with a particular aim in life is also perfectly correct. Even your great devotees and servants, known as great sages and saintly persons, remain in such a state that no one can get any clue to the aim of their lives. They are considered by the human society to be crazy and cynical. Their aim of life remains a mystery to the common human being. The lowest of mankind can know neither you nor your servant. A contaminated human being cannot even imagine the pastimes of you and your devotees. O unlimited one, when the activities and endeavors of your devotees remain a mystery to the common human being, how can they understand your motive and endeavor? All kinds of energies and opulences are engaged in your service, but still they are resting at your shelter. So he called himself a vagabond and didn't have any material proprietorship over anything. And although he was sitting on the throne of Dwarka, he wasn't supposed to be. And then she's saying, well, great saints and sages, they also have no material position. You have described yourself as penniless, but this condition is not poverty. Since there is nothing in existence but yourself, you do not require to possess anything. You yourself are everything. Unlike others, you do not require to purchase anything extraneously. With you, all contrary things can be adjusted because you are absolute. You do not possess anything, but no one is richer than you. There isn't anything other than you. So you don't need to possess anything. You are everything. In the material world, no one can be rich without possessing. Since your lordship is absolute, you can adjust the contradiction of possessing nothing, but at the same time being the richest. Kṛṣṇa. In the Vedas, it is stated that although you have no material hands and legs, you accept everything which is offered in devotion by the devotees. You have no material eyes and ears, but still you can see everything everywhere, and you can hear everything everywhere. Although you do not possess anything, the great demigods who accept prayers and worship from others come and worship you to solicit your mercy. How can you be categorized among the poor? Rukmiṇī goes on for quite a ways, taking each of Krishna's statements and turning them around. And I think I'm going to stop there. Got some things to do, like clean the house. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hey Sachi, any false ego possibly left in Rukmiṇī? Otherwise, why would Krishna say he does not love her? There was a little explanation of why Krishna did this, that because Krishna was always with her, she felt a little proud. She was feeling some pride. In Krishna's mind, he's always, I have Krishna always. And he didn't like pride. So he created a sense of that she could be separated. And that was like a shock treatment, Better see, who I really am, who you're really dealing with here, Rukmiṇī. I'm not an ordinary person. That was the first thing she realized, that Krishna was not an ordinary person. And now she's seeing how extraordinary he really is. And then, pride is... Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.